Alright, let's see. Germans moving up over the hills, drawing fire in scenario 4, Tula, from Iron Cross by 3W. So man-to-man combat on the east front. A German force here on 3 sides here, attacking north into this built-up area filled with several squads and AT gun and medium machine gun. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll just go in order here. Number one here means that, and I'll just reiterate, I know I said it before, but thinking about it again, the Germans just need to dash in. They need to follow the most significant covered and concealed routes, get in close, and then make the final dash into their own built-up, their own built-up areas, their own built-up hexes, and then eventually dash into the buildings with the Russians and get into close combat. I was watching a really good war game video earlier, and that's miniatures wargaming, but hearing those players commenting on their play, which was no, that was not an East Front battle, that was a Battle of the Bulge scenario, but hearing them talk about a similar situation where the Americans needed to, in that case, Americans needed to close across an open area to get into a built-up area where Germans were defending. Very similar. So that reminded me of this situation. Very realistic. It's hard. It's very challenging to figure out how to get in here. This number 2 back here is my reminder that, again, as I play, and really I've just started to explore all the nuances of this design, but in the next up-down state change step of the turn, at least, I mean that at the latest, if not during the player movement phase, or reaction movement phase, I guess. Anyways, at the next possible opportunity, really all of these, I need to think in terms of, if like these soldiers back here, I'll use this as an example, way back here on the back side. Alright, it's right off the screen here, but way back here I have one soldier here. I have one soldier up and one soldier down, like that, which is what I thought was a good defensive position, and it is a good defensive position, I guess, once the enemy has actually arrived in the area. But before that, it probably makes sense to have them, basically, if the soldier if the soldier doesn't actively need to be up, it actually should be down. The reason why I thought about this is that when the Germans come up over Hill B here, they can open up on these soldiers that are up, and that really wasn't necessary. The Germans can really, or the Russians in this case, defenders, they can pop up when they need to. But in other words, there's no reason to take that first shot from the enemy advancing when you're up. Take the first shot when you're down, then pop up. But anyways, that was my reminder. Another little tactical nuance. 3 up here. What happened is the Germans, they're all down. 3 soldiers together. They have an acting leader with them, and they came up over the hill, and now they have dashed into the road here. And they took opportunity fire from here, which is actually 5 here. They took opportunity fire, and they survived. Really wasn't that high chances, actually. Okay. So 4 over here. What was this? Oh, 4 is my reminder that let me explain this. I guess once and for all, because for now anyways I've made a decision. The rules say, let's take this hill hex right here, or let's take this hex 2407 right here, this hex right here. 2407 clearly has level 0 terrain and level 1 terrain in it. The rules say if a hex has 2 levels in it, it is at the lower level. Well, it makes sense here, but it doesn't make sense like this. As a matter of fact, the same hill, hill D, this hex 2506 has a small but very distinct, very clear patch of white way up here. A tiny little fraction of the hex is level 0. So technically, even though this looks like, from looking from from glancing at the hill, you think it's a 2 hex hill. Well, if you play the rules as written, this is actually a level 0 hex. So really, hill D is really only a 1 hex hill. And you have all these little nuances. Way up here, you can see hill C here. Both of these hill hexes have tiny slivers of 0 hex in them, 0 level terrain in them, which means that technically, even though this looks like a hill, in game terms, if you play rules as written, it's not a hill at all. So that just doesn't make any sense. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with the majority, and frankly, even after I go with majority elevation, I'm just going to use common sense for my own play here. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. I started to think about that here. You have a level 2 hex here. You make sure. Yep. No, even here. Even here you have a level 2 hex and you have a tiny sliver of level 1 elevation there. That does not make any sense. So, and this one would be level 0. Doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to go just with something much more reasonable. This was the opportunity fire. Here the machine gun actually tried in the sport fire phase to get some effects on the enemy Russians, but did not get observation. So I didn't. That's why I didn't have observation markers laid out, and didn't get fire either. Okay, so now here, this stack of 4 Germans all in up mode. Actually, I made the mistake of coming up on the hill. And actually, I did forget that the medium machine gun was here. So the medium machine gun, they passed their observation roll. They've observed, which actually I need to put out a reminder. They've observed, and then they easily passed their PC, their performance check. So they are opening fire, opportunity fire, medium machine gun to the moving Germans here. That would be, there are 2 trees in the hex. I'm going to go ahead and do this whole fire in the next video. I'm going to do the whole fire in the next video. I know I can do opportunity fire because the printed range on the medium machine gun is 15. This range is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. By the way, I did the line of sight. They're seen right between the buildings, but of course they're up on a level 2. So far I haven't had to break out the terrain level chart, but I know I need to get to that. But this is an easy, because they're looking up and between these buildings, up here into the trees. I forgot to adjust for the trees. Oh my! I forgot to adjust for the trees. Today is not a good, today is really not a good, where was I? I don't know. Oh, I moved these guys out of the way to do that, string the line of sight, and forgot to put them back. I did forget to use the modifiers for the 2 trees in the hex, but they rolled so low that I don't think that would make a difference. The observation base is the terrain, even though this is a level 1 hex, level 1 hill hex, it's still the terrain base of the terrain in there, which is clear, which is 10, -1 per tree. Well, +1 to the die roll. That's effectively the same thing. I'm going to do the opportunity fire next.